What's up, everybody? It's LG Doucette from the First Mint, and I've got MBL 267, one of the most well-known collectors in NBA Top Shot, with me. Today, we are going to look at the Run It Back set. So Run It Back is a series that came out pretty much during the NBA offseason between Series 1 and Series 2, I think about mid-December. And it came out in two packs, or two different sets of packs. Today, we're going to look at Run It Back 1, which was the first release. Mike, it's very good to have you. I know you love this set. I know you love some of the players in this set. I know you have some of them, and you know tons about these guys. Let's kick it off. When did the set come out, and what happened when it came out?
LG, thank you for having me on. And I think it's actually a fascinating set. As you touched on, it came out in the off season. And one of the questions a lot of collectors had at the end of last series was, what happens in the off season? It's a few weeks or a few months without any live packs or any live highlights to work with. And this was a fantastic answer by the Dapper team. They came out with a pack full of highlights from the 2013-2014 season. And it's a ton of fun, and very much looking forward to talking to you about it today. So in answer to your first question, the pack was actually announced on December 10th. It was announced by both an email and an announcement in the Discord. And it was to be released the next day on December 11th. And there's really an interesting story around it here. So it was released on December 11th, but as soon as people started opening their packs, it became clear that there was an error with the packs, where when you opened a pack, each pack cost $59, came with 2 of the Run It Back moments, 1 of the new Giannis MVP set moments, which we'll talk about. And I'm just confirming here, but I think it was 6 base set moments.
And two Run It Back, right? 2
exactly.
Run It Back and 6 base in the pack.
Exactly. $59 for 2 Run It Back, 1 Giannis MVP, and 6 base moments. And the problem was, in every pack, or I think it was something like 90% of packs that people opened, you received a duplicate Run It Back. So there were 18 possible Run It Back players, and whichever one you got in your pack, you got 2 of. So the 2 Run It Backs were the exact same player. And so when Dapper,
did you get one? Sorry, did you get one? Did you get a duplicate?
I got 21 packs in the first drop, and out of the 21 packs, I got 14 Haslams. So I got 42 total Run It Back moments, 14 of which were Udonis Haslem, which is a fan favorite, a fantastic guy, a big part of the Miami Heat history, but 14 is a lot.
Yes.
So there was an error. So they actually halted the circulation of the packs. And so initially there were, if you've done some math, you may figure this out already, there were 2,475 packs made available, for a total of 4,950 rib moments, and rib being Run It Back. And 732 of the packs were held back because they stopped the sales of them as soon as they realized something was wrong. And those packs were re-released 6 days later on December 17th.
And also, I found what was interesting then, too, is that Top Shot, Dapper actually made it right in a sense, where if you had received one of the Run It Back packs and you didn't like it and it had too many duplicates, you were able to essentially exchange it for another one. And even if you didn't, I think they gave everybody like a half price refund just for the error. So I got a Run It Back pack. I only got one, and I had 2 DeMarcus Cousins, and I was happy with that. But then I think they still credited me like $35 or something like that just for the error. So I thought that was awesome. I thought that was like a great way to correct it. I remember everybody was pretty happy about that. The other thing I just want to note quickly is that it wasn't just the Run It Backs that had duplicates. The base moments in there were also duplicates. I got 3 Eric Gordons in my pack of base moment.
So that's exactly right. Actually, I did a live break for a Run It Back pack the same day that they were released. I think Steady or Obi, one of our usual live break individuals, ran it. And the pack that I got had literally 6 Cody Zeller bases. All 6 bases were Cody Zeller. And I felt like the luckiest person in Top Shot.
Oh, that's amazing.
For viewers, Cody Zeller is a mythical figure in the Top Shot landscape. And I felt very fortunate to get 6 Cody Zellers in one pack. It'll never happen again.
That's amazing. That is like a story of legend that I've never even heard.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a totally separate piece about Cody Zeller and get Arsenic on here and just do like a whole like documentary about how that's happened. Let's get back to this. Okay, so sales came out, there were duplicates, and then after that, everybody was happy. What were the next steps? It was, I guess, challenge was launched right away, correct?
So that's also an interesting angle. Amidst the chaos of the initial duplicate pack drop, right after the packs were dropped, they actually put up the Kevin Durant challenge. So as part of the overall announcement of the running back packs, and you could see it on the blockchain at any time, there were going to be 2 rewards. LG is highlighting Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant was highlighted to be the first reward. And the way the reward worked was that there are 18 underlying moments, 9 of which would be allocated to Kevin Durant, 9 to Paul George. And while they are both fantastic rewards, Kevin Durant's is particularly noteworthy because he did not have a moment in Top Shot before this moment. And so there was a lot of chatter that you really want to get the 9 moments that would be part of the Kevin Durant challenge. And the Paul George would be nice as well, but you'd rather have the Kevin Durant. And so right after the packs were released, the challenge was actually activated and put up on the website, only to be taken down a few minutes later. But fortunately, there were a few members of the community who saw what the challenge components were and posted it in the Discord so that everyone could have full information and act accordingly.
Right. And then it came back up like the next day or something like that. Why did they take it down? Why did they take it down?
I think it was just kind of, we need to just halt everything to do with these packs, get this figured out. And as I mentioned before, there were 732 packs left. So they pulled those 732 packs that hadn't yet been sold and pulled the challenge off the page. They did make an announcement that even though the challenge was pulled down, the components would not change. They wouldn't reshuffle the components. So I think that gave everyone a level of comfort that you could essentially act as if the challenge was still up, and it was reposted a day or 2 later.
Can you give the folks that are going to be watching this, can you give them a bit of context on what the prices looked like then? Because right now, looking at this, a Kevin Durant is 10 grand, a Paul George, 3,600, and even just the rest of the guys that you needed for those challenges start at what, like 250 for an Otto Porter Jr. What, like, to complete that challenge, what were people having to spend if they didn't get anything in the packs?
So it's a great question. And as I said, these packs came out in early to mid-December, when it was an entirely different ecosystem and landscape in the world of Top Shot. And so the underlying moments traded at, I would say, a slight premium to what you'd expect from the pack prices. So the pack prices cost $59. You can attribute some amount of value to the Giannis MVP moments, some to the 6 base moments, but you can assume roughly the running back should cost around $20 each, something in that neighborhood on average. And there are, of course, outliers with jersey numbers and number ones and last mints and things like that. But largely, you can assume they'd be $20. And the $20 number kind of became the floor. So within this set, which we'll talk about, there are some really, really interesting and fun moments for NBA fans and fans of specific teams. And then there are some moments that are less desirable. And even among the less desirable moments, the minimum price was 20. The higher end moments, led by Giannis, who's a very interesting case here, got as high as $150 or $200 in the lead up to the challenge. Right. And
I remember that.
Giannis there, who's actually, even though he has 275 in circulation, along with all the underlying run it back moments that aren't rewards, people were really enamored with this moment. It's from Giannis's rookie season. And because Top Shot only came out in June of 2020, there's obviously never going to be a true Giannis rookie moment. And this is going to be as close to it as we can get. And so, as you can see by today's price, the market has really, really taken to this moment. And even though it sounds like a much lower number now, $200 for a moment that came out of a $59 pack where you had a shot at actually getting 2 of these in the same pack was a significant premium. And the moment shot right up to that. And the market was clearly ahead of the curve here, because you can see what the price is today.
And that's it. And I remember as well that it was, by that point, Giannis already had quite a few moments in other sets as well. So there's already like a huge amount of Giannis stuff in market. And also, and I mean, this is a totally different conversation, but I also feel like since it was the off season and Giannis, in a sense, with the Bucks had I guess you call it like disappointed, right? Because people expect big things from Giannis. And they'd gone out in the second round. I think it was like, in a sense, his stock was a little lower than it would be, at the height of like an MVP year. Even though it was an MVP year, like it was off season, and it was like we didn't even know what their team was going to be like this year, right? So
I think
it's kind of a weird
exactly
time.
right.
Yeah, and then this wasn't designated as eventually getting the rookie badge until like early January, I think, right?
So it wasn't
like
officially designated, but there were conversations. And as always, the Dapper team is really accessible and participates in the Discord and answers questions. There were conversations and indications that Giannis and a number of other rookies from the 2013-2014 season are in this set would get some sort of indication that it's from their rookie season.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't officially announced until probably about a month later. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's probably, I mean, all prices have gone up, but I remember when that was announced that this price went from like 400 to 1,800 within an hour once that blog post was put out. Okay, very cool. Thanks for all that info. Are there any moments in here? I mean, outside of the ones we've touched on, obviously Kevin Durant, it's his first moment in Top Shot, very special. Giannis, rookie badge. Is there anything else in here in terms of moments that really stands out to you? I know you're a Knicks fan, so you got a mellow throwback here. Is there anything like that you want to chat about? Tell us your personal feelings, stuff that you really like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll actually start with the rewards. So the rewards themselves are actually really, really cool NBA moments. So the Kevin Durant is a game-winning three-pointer from his Oklahoma City days, a much younger version of Durant, but you can see obviously his shot form looks the exact same, and it's good old Kevin Durant, but it's a really cool moment, a game-winning shot. The Paul George one is probably my favorite actual play from the set. Paul George is back from his days on the Pacers. It predates his devastating injury, and you can see it's a glimpse of his athleticism that he had before the injury. It's a live game 360 dunk, and I don't know if there are any more than 5 or 10 of those in NBA history, an actual 360 dunk in real life gameplay. So that's a really cool moment. And then a few others I'd highlight. As I mentioned, there are a few rookies in the 2013-2014 set, and it's quite clear that the team really made an effort to highlight the rookies. So I'll run through a little list. I put it together here. Oladipo from the Magic is a rookie moment. Otto Porter, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Carter-Williams, who actually won Rookie of the Year that season, Steven Adams, Kelly Olynyk, Giannis, and Dennis Schroeder himself. So those are all rookie moments. And similar to Giannis, all of these players don't have true rookie moments, and they'll never have true rookie moments because, again, Top Shot really only came out in 2020. So it's fascinating to see how these will trade, how the rookie badges will affect them. And then there's a lot of other kind of fun aspects to this set. We have big name players on their former teams, and a lot of them, they became famous on these teams. So obviously Carmelo, near and dear to my heart on the Knicks. We haven't had a player of that stature since. We're all hoping RJ Barrett grows into that mold, but Melo on the Knicks is a very important moment for Knicks fans. And then we have Jimmy Butler on the Bulls. We have CP3 on the Clippers as part of the Lob City group. I mentioned Paul George on the Pacers. And in terms of plays themselves, I think my favorite actual play aside from the Paul George is the DeMarcus Cousins dunk. And I don't know. I think you're able to bring that up. If you are, you can see it's just an enormously powerful slam.
Yeah, my computer wants to die right now from opening all these tabs, but
I know that too well.
I'll have it up in a second, but I just got to watch through some of these. And that's a good point. That's even something I hadn't considered. Obviously, the kind of throwback idea is awesome, but also the idea that it's like a lot of these players who are now some of the best players in the league, and some of them are all-stars or near all-stars, that for a lot of these guys, it's on their former team. And that,
Absolutely.
Not only, it also gives you just a glimpse of like, we're in the age of player movement, of players changing teams often. And, to have like Kentavious on Detroit is like, man, I bet you a lot of people now don't even know he played for Detroit. Right. And so on for a lot of these guys. Right. Or even that they got their start there, like Olynyk. Like I remember some of those playoff series that he had on Boston, like when he like took Kevin Love's shoulder out of his socket. But it's just like, you know what I mean? But I'm like, but even seeing this, I was like, oh yeah, Olynyk like played for Boston, and it kind of like brought all these memories back from the years then, because this was 2013, 2014. Like, what else was happening in the league? Like, that was that LeBron's last season or second last season on the Heat, right?
So that was the year that they lost to the Spurs in the finals.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's a really important season. And here's the Cousins dunk. It's just a huge and powerful dunk, and it shows he's also another guy. This was pre-injury for him. He had an Achilles injury after this, and he was just a freak athlete. And another interesting one is actually James Harden. After this set was released, but before this podcast was recorded, was obviously traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and so now that moment suddenly becomes from his former team too. And it's actually fascinating because he has Series 1 on the Rockets, but Series 2 he has no Rockets moments. So there just really aren't that many James Harden Rockets moments, and now all his future moments will be on the Nets. And so I think this moment does carry more meaning now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. So another just awesome aspect of the run it back is that just seeing the current players in a totally different state. I love that Boogie Cousins one too, because it is a monster slam. It does show how athletic he was. And it's also like, that makes me remember that it's like, man, like he was considered one of the best players in the league, right? Like he was a dominant force, like his Team USA, like, when he wanted to be traded, it was like, wow, which team is going to land DeMarcus Cousins, right? Like it was a big deal. And, through injuries in the last couple of years, it's like people kind of forgotten that. So it's cool. I love this set. I love the way you're looking at it. I want to wrap this up. I don't want to make these too long. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you think people should know about the set? Any other stuff that you love or don't love about it?
I mean, I think it was a really impressive response by the Dapper team to the question, what do we do in the off season? How do we stay engaged? How do we stay interesting? And the set was well received at the time, but it's clear in terms of how it's traded over the first few months that the market really, really, really likes these kinds of moments. There are a number of players actually who only have one moment in Top Shot, and that's from this run it back set. So at the time, KD only had one moment. Same with DeMarcus Cousins, but Michael Carter-Williams, this is probably going to be his only Top Shot moment ever, and the same with Udonis Haslem. And I'm fairly certain Marc Gasol actually doesn't have another Top Shot moment, but he will in the future. So for someone like MCW and Haslam, it's going to be their only Top Shot moment. So it's a really fun set. It's an interesting set, and it's a great answer to how do we keep things interesting in the off season. So an awesome pack by Dapper.
Awesome. All right. Well, MBL, appreciate your time, man.
Thank you for having me on.